Few gaming franchises remain relevant for 25 years. Lara Croft and her Tomb Raider franchise has not only survived, but thrived across multiple generations of gaming consoles and PC hardware. Let us celebrate the Tomb Raider franchise and the dozens of developers who guided her on her journey with this heroine's silver anniversary with 25 things you probably never knew about Lara. Lara was born in February of 1992. Many video game characters seem to appear out of thin air. In charting Lara's origin story in the critically acclaimed Tomb Raider 2013, Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal gave her a birthday of February 1992. After 2018 Shadow of the Tomb Raider, the final chapter in the Origin trilogy, Tomb Raider 2013, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Lara was 22 years old. Lara knows the gig economy. If the economy ever makes tomb raiding a financially irresponsible career, Lara's got several skills to fall back on. Also established by Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal, Lara is an ace mixologist, able to tend bar with the best of them. If all else fails, she could put a degree in Asian archaeology to use as a university professor. Lara helped popularize 3D games. 1996 was a banner year for 3D gaming, and 3 of gaming's biggest franchises helped to make it that way. In June, id Software's Quake let you frag your buddies in 3 dimensions. Just 3 months later, Super Mario 64 invited you inside Princess Peach's expansive castle to see Nintendo's colorful cast of characters like you've never seen them before. And on October 25th, Lara Croft laced up her boots and stepped into the tombs for the first time. All 3 games were bestsellers and lauded by critics and players alike, making them an important part of ushering in the transition to 3D gaming. Lara Croft was almost Lara Cruz. Before Core Design, the studio behind the original Tomb Raider series, settled on Lara Croft, she was briefly known as Lara Cruz, a South American beauty with a flair for adventure. Gradually, she became Lara Croft, a British aristocrat who wasn't afraid to get her hands dirty scaling walls and battling T-Rexes head-on. Lara was almost a military woman. During the Lara Cruz phase of the character's evolution, she was imagined as a tough-as-nails military soldier. Lara was almost a man. Core Design imagined their Indiana Jones-like adventure as a male protagonist. Wisely, fearing lawsuits from Lucasfilm, they changed their lead character to a woman. Lara can't save you 15% on car insurance. When Crystal Dynamics became the stewards of the Tomb Raider franchise, Lara replaced the vampire Kain, star of the studio's Legacy of Kain Soul Weaver series of RPGs, as the face of the studio. Kain himself had taken the place of Gex the Gecko, whose exploits never quite elevated him to the lofty heights of Mario and Sonic. Tomb Raider 2013 was built on 4 design pillars. Crystal Dynamics wasn't handed the Tomb Raider series on a silver platter. The franchise had fallen out of favor with players years earlier, so its new handlers faced a challenge: how to reintroduce Tomb Raider and Lara Croft to audiences. After much brainstorming and design iteration, they landed on the 4 pillars that define the essence of Lara's adventures: combat, traversal, puzzle solving, and exploration. 6 developers created the original game. Today, AAA development teams can number in the hundreds, even the thousands. Back in 1993, Core Design consisted of 6 developers crammed into a small bedroom in a Victorian house. Lara was the leading lady among leading ladies. Before Lara Croft, few female characters in games had starring roles. Many historians point to Samus Aran as the first playable female character, but other characters like Miss Pac-Man, Princess Rosella from King's Quest IV, and other women from various action-adventure games came before her. Lara Croft wasn't the first playable female, or even one of the first, but she's probably the first to portray a strong and capable woman protagonist in video games. Lara's creators never intended for her to be a sex icon. One of the Core Design's 6 developers was Toby Gard, the artist who converted the previously male character into Lara Croft. He dressed her in attire suitable for archaeological digs. Kind of. Her short brown shorts and tight-fitting shirt showed off her physical fitness, but Gard says he never saw his creation as a pinup girl. Lara's original bust was increased by accident. Core artist Toby Gard claimed he was tinkering with Lara's model when he increased her bust size by 150% by accident. The other 5 developers, all men, saw what he had done and insisted he keep Lara that way. Maybe Gard is telling the truth, but it was hard to believe he was accidentally in the settings that had to do with her chest size. Eidos marketing controlled Lara's image, while Toby Gard handled Lara's design. Accidents and all, he claims Eidos' marketing department was behind the campaign to make her a sex symbol. Gard said he was caught off guard by posters and other advertisements featuring Lara wearing little to no clothing, but had no creative control over the marketing push. Crystal Dynamics wanted to humanize Lara. Part of Crystal Dynamics' job in telling Lara's origin story was to rebrand her to shift the focus away from eye candy and more towards adventure. They replaced Lara's short shorts with practical pants, and her too tight shirt with a ribbed tank top. The developers also crafted brutal survival sequences, such as Lara having to patch up her own wounds, to put your attention on her grit and resolve. Rebranding Lara was difficult. Crystal Dynamics couldn't overhaul everything about Lara Croft to remake her in their image. According to the former brand manager Rich Briggs, and I quote, "You can't build a completely new version of Lara Croft. You have to keep some things that people know and love about her." Their answer was to find a middle ground between Lara Croft you knew and the Lara Croft Crystal Dynamics wanted you to know. Lara prefers to kill creatures, not humans. Modern Tomb Raider games show Lara doing what it takes to survive. That often includes killing dozens of humans who, in fairness to Miss Croft, are vile people who wouldn't hesitate to kill her first. But in the original Tomb Raider from 1996, Lara kills only 6 humans. The lions, dinosaurs, and other creatures who cross her path aren't so lucky. Lara and Sony didn't get along at first. Although Tomb Raider games have appeared on many platforms, the franchise became synonymous with Sony's PlayStation in 1996. That relationship nearly ended before it began. Sony rejected Tomb Raider the first time Core submitted the game to them, saying it failed to measure up to the level of quality they expected on their platform. Lara's first voice actress channeled Bond, not Jones. Core designed and Eidos cast Shelley Blonde to voice Lara in the first game. The notes given to Shelley by Core described the character as a female James Bond, rather than a female Indiana Jones. Blonde completed her VO in a single session. Shelley nailed the character of Lara Croft right away, wrapping her voiceover session just after 5 hours. In an interview she said, and I quote, "The most fun was recording the grunts and groans. I could let loose a little more." Many women have played Lara. The most famous Lara Croft to date may be Angelina Jolie, the Hollywood A-lister who played Croft in 2 blockbuster films. Other women who portrayed her across the games and more media include Alicia Vikander, Lara's portrayer in the 2018 Hollywood reboot film, Camilla Luddington, who did motion capture and VO work across Tomb Raider 2013, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Shelley Blonde, Core's first VO artist for Lara, Judith Gibbons, who voiced Lara in Tomb Raider 2 and 3, Jonelle Elliott, who voiced her in the next 4 games, and Kelly Hawes, Lara's voice in the 4th after that. Rona Mitra was the first Croft model. Lara's reputation quickly grew beyond video games. Core knew Lara was one of the few gaming characters to reach mainstream audiences, and hired models to play her at conventions and other events. The first model to portray her was Rona Mitra, named the official face of Lara Croft in 1997. Rona even released 2 dance albums under Lara's name. Those songs didn't help Lara's former image. Rona Mitra's 2 albums, Come Alive and Female Icon, contained song titles such as Feel Myself and Getting Naked, didn't help Lara shed her sex bot image. Rise of the Tomb Raider's caves are procedural. Games like Diablo use procedurally generated content, meaning given attributes by an algorithm to spin out new levels every time you play. Rise of the Tomb Raider's Endurance mode featured procedural content too. The caves you explore are connected by procedurally generated wilderness, so you'll rarely, if ever, play the same Endurance mode twice. Crystal Dynamics used weapons to rebrand Lara. Crystal Dynamics went beyond Lara's physical appearance to rebrand her. Her signature twin pistols, loaded with unlimited ammo, got her out of countless jams. But Crystal traded them for a bow, which symbolized the spirit of her origin story. Creative director Noah Hughes explained the decision. The introduction of the bow as a signature piece of gear was a major shift in combat, moving away from Lara's dual pistols. Part of that had to do with grounding her as a character fresh out of a university. It was less believable that someone would be fully trained with dual pistols, so we wanted to respect that as an origin story. Camilla Luddington channeled Personal Losh in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Shadow of the Tomb Raider was the final chapter in Lara's origin story, and featured deeply emotional events to bring the series to a close in as dramatic a fashion as possible. In her performance as Lara, actress Camilla Luddington tapped into her personal loss. "I was 19 too when I lost my mom." That's an interesting age to lose a parent, because you feel like you're being let loose into the world, but you also want to have stability and comfort from your parents. But I also think there's a strength that comes from having to navigate the world and feeling like you're doing it alone. I feel there's a lot of things that Lara does that come from her upbringing and direction her loss set for her. For more behind the scenes info on Tomb Raider and the 25 years of Lara Croft, visit Shacknews.com to read Ascendant, our long read that goes in depth on the original games and the reinvention of one of gaming's most beloved characters. For more video features and everything else gaming related, you're already in the right place. You're on Shacknews.com.